I'm not surprised that Grimlord Sakura became one of the 2 Halloween units to get a Neo Vision Awakening. Lucius, on the other hand. Lucius was never a bad unit. He was just overshadowed by the ridiculous role Lilith played in Arena. Compared to her, he was a damage dealer. A strong one, sure, but not strong enough to warrant chasing him unless you really liked his design. As such, I don't have him at all. A pity, given that his Trustmaster reward and Super Trustmaster reward are great for Fist users, and there are some really notable Fist users nowadays. Well, a Neo Vision Awakening certainly gets people to look at you. If you're lucky, you'll last about 2 weeks, so let's see if Lucius gets that treatment. His new attack's Chain of Divine Ruination, which isn't the most popular chaining family nowadays. Umbro Slash is a brave ability that partially ignores the enemy's defense. Severing Slash is another brave ability that can inflict a decent 75% full break. It would be a nice addition if it weren't for the fact that the 75% full break is underwhelming for the grind needed to unlock it. Manifestation of Shadows is a cooldown ability that increases Lucius' attack by 300%, which eventually drops to 250%, and enables Curse of Dusk and Curse of Dawn on the next turn. These are excellent chaining abilities that inflict a 120% Dark or Fire Imperil, and imbue the same element onto the rest of your team. Curse of Dusk will dabble with Dark, and Curse of Dawn will provide fire support. Immortal Inferno is a Magnus ability that can be used twice. It'll grant Lucius a re-raise, raises fire and dark resistance by 100%, and cures any breaks and most status ailments. He hasn't gained any new extraordinary passives, though in his case, he's just fine with some stat boosts. If you want to build him, he'd still prefer to dual wield. Well, onto his Brave Shift. Some spooky stuff happens here and he goes full ballistic. At least that's my take on it. It has a 4-turn duration and a 2-turn cooldown. Anyways, active abilities. Intimidating Rage is a cooldown ability that boosts his attack by 300%, lets him resist attack breaks, and lowers the enemy's fire and dark resistance by 120%. Dark Illusion is a dark bolting strike ability that takes a chunk of Lucius' HP to deal damage, imbue dark onto himself, and further raise his own dark damage. Blazing Illusion is the same thing but with fire. Shadow Assault is a bolting strike brave ability that hurts Lucius, but it also partially ignores the enemy's defense. Laceration of Fury will inflict an 80% defense and spirit break, which will weaken over time and causes the enemy to take some damage for 3 turns. Frenzied Destruction is a Magnus ability that can be used once. It boosts his attack by 300%, inflicts Berserk on himself, thus boosting his attack further by 150%, grants himself a Demon and Human Killer, lowers the enemy's dark resistance by 130%, and then consumes his HP to deal dark damage that chains with Oriole Ray. Despite being a powerful ability, it can't be multicasted with the others, so it certainly suffers some flaws. He has some killer passes that can be raised further by leveling up the associated Brave ability. He has some fire and dark elemental resistance, as well as the ability to counter attacks with a Divine Ruination chaining ability. With his Trustmaster reward or Super Trustmaster reward equipped, he'll restore a bit of his HP as he deals damage, and boost his damage output so long as he's dual wielding. With that in mind, feel free to give him 2 weapons to use in battle. Finally, let's look at his Limit Burst. It inflicts an 80% full break on your opponents, deals damage, and causes them to take additional damage over the next 3 turns. So, which brave ability should you prioritize? I'd recommend Shadow Assault to boost its damage output, Demonic Pact to boost its killer bust and attack, Umbro Slash to boost its damage, Unnatural Creation to boost its attack, and finally Severing Slash because the breaks aren't substantial enough to be worth the grind. Let's make a damage rotation. I'll use him as a dark damage dealer. On turn 1, switch forms and cast Intimidating Rage, Dark Illusion, and Shadow Assault. On turn 2, triple cast Shadow Assault. Keep going until turn 5, where you'll be forced back into his first form. There, cast Manifestation of Shadows and dual cast Umbro Slash. On turn 6, cast Curse of Dusk and dual cast Umbro Slash. On turn 7, activate his Brave Shift and begin again from turn 1. So, how is Lucius? If I had to say, he mimics Lauren in a sense. Both can dish out breaks and deal damage. On the other hand, they both use different elements and chain with different families. Lauren's an overall better breaker though, and Lucius can't really outdamage her enough to make up for this loss. As Lucius is part breaker, he can't boast that he's one of the strongest damage dealers in the game. Regardless, with a surprising elemental team imbue from his first form, and some solid damage output overall, he's certainly a useful unit when sent into battle.